Hey friend, Graham here from recordingrevolution.com. Today, let me show you how to glue your tracks together, glue your mix together using what we call mix bus compression. Simply putting a compressor on your mix bus, which is the same as your master fader, and running your whole mix through it. You can get a little more glue, a little more polish, and a little more excitement out of your mix. It's a subtle but beautiful effect. It's very common by pro mix engineers all the time. It's how I grew up learning how to mix, and it's something I still continue to do to this day. So you can do this with any compressor. My favorite is the Waves SSL Master Bus compressor, and this mimics the compression on an SSL console, an SSL 9000. They were brilliant to put a compressor on the console at the very end of the whole section of channels, so everything gets dumped into this, and you can turn it in or out. So it can be off if you don't want it in, but if you want it in the circuit, you hit that button on the console. By default, this is already turned on because really in Pro Tools and DAW land, we use bypass buttons up here for the actual plugin. So what you want to do, and the goal of this is to create a little more punch, like I said, glue your tracks together a little bit. This isn't going to be a massive change. So if you're looking for massive magical change, you're in the wrong place. No mixing tricks should really give you massive magical change. They should all give you good, nice, subtle changes that add up together, and this is one of them. What I want to do is show you how to do it right and how to do it wrong. First thing that most people do that I think is the backwards way to do it, that's the wrong way to do it, is add it at the end. You actually want to mix through this from the beginning. So if I've got a mix here and I've already got, the tracks kind of balanced, but no plugins yet, that's the time you want to bring this in. So you want to insert your favorite compressor on your master fader where your whole mix is going through. And in this case, I put the Waves SSL Master Bus compressor here. Now, by default, it's going to look something like this. And you can tell if you look closely here that this compressor already adds 3 dB of gain in its default position. It's awful. That means it's just going to make your mix louder. So you don't want that. You want that to be 0. And then also, you're going to have to just mess with these settings because these settings by default are not going to be good, in my opinion, for what you want. What you want to do is start with the ratio. Put it at a 2-to-1 ratio to start, unless you're using mixing really aggressive music, really, really heavy rock, really, really heavy rap or hip hop. Start with 2-to-1. Otherwise, go to 4-to-1 if you have a little bit more aggressive music. I got pretty chill music here. Take a listen.
Ain't like it once was. The jukebox playing those rock and roll sounds. They were my first love. My heart's with those records that I found.
Okay, it's chill music. So I'm going to keep it at 2-to-1. Second, we want to look at the attack. One thing that we need to do is get a nice slow attack, okay? And I say 10 milliseconds or slower. 30 can be fine. But 10 is usually fast enough to catch the peaks and be usable, but slow enough to let most of the peaks still come through so you're not clamping down on the audio and killing your dynamics. Second, you want to do is you want to release as quickly as possible. You don't want to keep this clamped down that the next transients can't come through. You want to open this compressor back up as quickly as possible. So I always set it to the fastest release that the compressor will give me. Once those are in place, 2-to-1 ratio, slow attack, fast release, I start to look at the gain reduction meter and dial the threshold knob up or down accordingly until I start to see on the loudest part of the song, meaning usually the hook or the chorus, 1, 2 dB, maybe 3 of gain reduction on the biggest hits, usually the kick and the snare or the bass hits. Take a look. Well, let's turn it on first.
It ain't like it once was. The jukebox playing those rock and roll sounds. They were my first love.
That's actually perfect. I like where the needle is. I wouldn't want any more compression than that. The final step is then we take the makeup gain and we turn it back up because that's the point of compression. You're using the compressor to turn down the loud peaks, usually the kick and the snare and the bass, just by a little bit and only when they hit. And then we're going to bring up the rest of the mix a little bit to match it. Since we're doing on average probably 1 dB of gain reduction, I'll probably bring the makeup gain up 1 dB and we'll try to turn the bypass on and off and make sure we're not making the whole mix louder peak volume wise, but just a little more loud average volume because you are bringing up the low level stuff, which makes it a little bit more exciting.
It it once was. The jukebox playing those rock and roll sounds. They were my first love. My heart's with those records that I found. Forget where I came from.
A little bit louder, I'll dial it back. All right, so here we go. Take a listen before.
It ain't like it once was. The jukebox playing those rock and roll sounds. They were my first love. My heart's with those records that I found. Forget where I came from. In an old vinyl turned up loud. That's where I found all that I need. It's where I started to believe in these 6 strings and me.
Really nice, real subtle. You're getting a little more kick drum thump, and it's just gluing. What it's doing, when I say glue, it's taking the peaks, the dynamic range of the mix and reducing it just ever so slightly. So it's taking the loudest moments and making them a little bit quieter, usually the kick and the snare hits, like I said, and then bringing up everything else in the mix a little closer to it. And it's just a nice squeezing of the mix where it won't really reduce any of the dynamics in a negative way. It just sort of pushes everything more up front. Again, here's without for a little bit.
It ain't like it once was. The jukebox playing those rock and roll sounds. They were my first love. My heart's with those records that I found. Forget where I came from.
Very subtle, but very nice. Now, where people go wrong with mix bus compression is either too fast of an attack.
It ain't like it once was. The jukebox playing.
And too low of a threshold.
It ain't like it once was. The jukebox playing those rock and roll sounds.
So it's making it quieter, so they would probably turn up the makeup gain to match.
It ain't like it once was. The jukebox.
So here it is before, nice and natural.
It ain't like it once was.
Compressed.
It ain't like it once was. The jukebox playing those rock and roll sounds. They were my first love.
It made the drums too small. It like you lose the excitement of the mix, and that's like not even awfully done. If you had a higher ratio, slower release, right?
It ain't like it once was. The jukebox playing those rock and roll sounds. They were my first love. My heart's with those records that I found.
That's where it's lost its punch. Where without any compression, it's better.
It ain't like it once was. The jukebox playing those rock and roll sounds. They were my first.
You can hear it like squeezing the audio every time the kick and the snare comes. It makes the mix smaller and smaller. That's doing it wrong. That's not what we want. We want that nice slow attack, that fast release. We want a lower ratio. 4-to-1's not bad. That's not really the culprit. It's usually the attack, release, and the threshold. And we want to make it a little more natural. I'll go a little more noticeable for you, but still usable mix bus compression.
It ain't like it once was. The jukebox playing those rock and roll sounds. They were my first love. My heart's with those records that I found. Forget where I came from. In an old vinyl turned up loud. That's where I found all that I need. It's where I started to believe in these 6 strings and me.
Yeah, very nice. Very, very nice. Kick drum comes up, excitement comes up. It's about the same peak volume. That's how you want to use mix bus compression. And you want to set this up at the beginning of the mix. because you're going to hear it now on everything else, and it will affect your mixing decisions, and then in a good way. You won't need as much vocal compression or as much kick drum compression or as much parallel drum compression or whatever you end up using, because it's already getting compressed a little bit. And that is the point, is it affects your mixing decisions in a strategic way. If you were to add this at the end of a mix, sure, you can enhance it a little bit, but it kind of defeats the purpose. You've done all this work and then you're trying to add another compressor. Doing this here actually can reduce how much compression you need on the individual tracks, and it affects everything you do, and it sort of informs your mixing decisions, and you get the benefit of that glue from moment one. So there it is, mix bus compression, how to glue it together with a compressor. You can use any compressor you like, stock compressors, it doesn't matter. This one's just kind of known for that mix bus compression sound, and it's one of my favorites, and I've used it for years and years and years because I've used the real thing, and I know what it's supposed to do, and I like it. But start with your compressor that you have on hand and follow those same settings or in the ballpark, and you will be in good shape. Now, if you want more compression techniques and compression tips and tricks, I've got a whole compression cheat sheet for you. It's my 7-step checklist or cheat sheet on how to use compression in your mixes, whether it's here on the mix bus or on individual tracks. It's going to break down everything for you, what a compressor is, how to think about compression in more depth, how to simplify compression for you, and give you some steps that I follow every time I reach for a compressor in my mix. Again, it's a 7-step framework, and it's a free, simple PDF. You read it really quickly and then just keep it, reference it whenever you're using compression. It's just my gift to you to kind of help you out as a little companion to this video. You can grab it for free at compression7.com, compression7.com. I'll put the link here in the video and in the description box below. Thanks for downloading it. Thanks for watching. As always, I'll see you on another video real soon.